a dragon, a goat, 7 horns, total destruction, rebirth, a new heaven, a new earth. Revelation has it all. Come join me as I take a walk through the book of Revelation and see what was on John's mind in the island of Patmos. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of Coffee, the Bible and Paige. I am Paige, your caffeine-imbued host. Here is my caffeine. In the beginning, coffee, and lo, it was very good. Well, we're going to continue on. I'm going to take one more look at Revelations 13, 11 through 18. And in today's podcast, I'm going to discuss briefly the pre-millennialist point of view. At our last podcast, I spent a lot of time on what the millennials think, but I kind of veered off a little bit. And I'm going to veer off again today. I have spent a lot of time thinking about the pre-millennial and the amillennial points of view. And what I'm going to say today probably won't satisfy anybody. But I am compelled by God, I believe, to be honest. And when I'm not sure of something, I'm going to say I'm not sure of something. And there's some things I am sure of. And there's some things I am not sure of. And we're going to cover all that today. Well, I'm going to read the passage in question. And then I'm going to give the pre-mill point of view. And then I'm going to talk about my overall point of view as it pertains to this. But let's get started. Verse 11 of chapter 13. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs, it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast, who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. Now the second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast, or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. All right. As John's vision continues in Revelation 13, his eyes are drawn to another terrifying figure, not rising from the sea like the first beast, but from the earth. This suggests gentleness, innocence, and religious authority because it has 2 horns like a lamb. But when it speaks, the illusion is shattered. It looks like a lamb, but its voice is like a dragon's, echoing the deceptive and destructive power of Satan himself. In the futurist premillennial interpretation, this second beast is identified as a real person still to come, a powerful religious leader who will emerge during the end times. He is commonly known as the false prophet, and he works hand in hand with the Antichrist, who was introduced as the first beast earlier in the chapter. This false prophet will be a master of religious deception, while the Antichrist will dominate global politics and military power. This second beast will control the spiritual and religious realm. He will convince the world to worship the Antichrist, not through force alone, but through powerful signs and wonders that imitate the miraculous. This second beast is different. It looks like a lamb, gentle, innocent, but it speaks like a dragon. It has the appearance of righteousness, yet it carries the venom of Satan himself. It works miracles. It calls fire from the heavens, deceives the people of the earth, and demands worship, not of itself, but of the first beast. It creates an image to be honored, and it establishes a system so powerful that no one can buy or sell without receiving its mark. So, in this view, the first beast is the Antichrist, a global political leader empowered by Satan. The false prophet is his religious counterpart. That's the second beast. Like a dark parody of John the Baptist preparing the way for Christ, the false prophet, in the premillennial view, prepares the world to worship the Antichrist. John sees the second beast calling down fire from heaven, performing great signs, and giving breath to the image of the first beast. These counterfeit miracles will be so convincing that people will believe the Antichrist is divine. In this end-time scenario, the false prophet uses religion not to glorify God, but to glorify the beast, to establish a false worship system centered on a man who defies God. Now, this deception is not merely theological. It is spiritual warfare. The signs will appeal to human awe and longing for the supernatural, and many will be drawn into a global religion that worships the Antichrist under the false prophet's leadership. To the premillennialist, this passage is a prophetic warning of what is to come. The second beast is a coming world religious leader who will deceive the masses and lead a false global religion that culminates in the worship of Satan's chosen ruler. The second beast then enforces a chilling decree. No one can buy or sell unless they bear the mark of the beast. This mark, placed on the right hand or the forehead, is not just a symbol. In the futurist premillennial view, it's understood as a literal physical mark, possibly a technological implant, I suppose, or a biometric ID, used to control access to the global economy. But more than a tool of commerce, the mark signifies allegiance. Accepting the mark means giving your loyalty and worship to the Antichrist. Refusing the mark means exclusion, suffering, and likely death. This is the ultimate test of faith for those alive during the Great Tribulation. Revelations 13:11 through 18, according to the premillennial perspective, describes, therefore, a terrifying future where deception and control emerge and converge. The false prophet, performing signs and wonders, leads billions into false worship. The Antichrist will rule politically. The false prophet will rule religiously. Together they will build a system that mimics true faith but leads to destruction. Believers during this time will be called to resist at all costs, even if it means martyrdom. Revelation's message is clear. Those who follow the beast will share in his judgment, but those who endure in faith will be vindicated by the returning Christ. All right, well, that wraps up the pre-mill point of view. We're going to speak to what I believe is the real issue. In the premillennial viewpoint, Revelations 11:13 through 18 is a map of things to come, a literal man, a global crisis, a showdown before Christ's return. In the amillennial view, Revelations 13:11 through 18 is a description of our spiritual battle in the present age. False prophets, deceptive systems, the continual call to worship something other than God. Both views take the text seriously. One reads it through the lens of future fulfillment, the other through the lens of ongoing spiritual truth. Both call the church to be watchful. Both call believers to reject compromise. Both call believers to stay faithful and to remember that in the end, the Lamb, not the dragon, wins. So here's my personal take on all this stuff. Can these two viewpoints, i.e. amillennial and premillennial, share any common ground? I believe so. The amillennial has trained themselves to see the spirit of Antichrist in the world around them. They see the clear and present danger of the church aligning itself with the government. This puts them in an alert state, keeping their eyes open to this danger. They have history on their side. They're not looking for an individual, the Antichrist or the false prophet. They see these two spirits throughout history who are still alive in our present time. The premillennial understands the spirit of the times, also recognizing the many antichrists and false prophets throughout history, but they see them as shadows or precursors to the culmination of these shadows and precursors, the Antichrist and the false prophets still to come. So which view is correct? All right, here's where I alienate or bother some folks. I think we need to understand this thing. True followers of Christ, through godly living and the pursuit of God, will have trained themselves to recognize evil. The amillennialist sees the spirit of the Antichrist everywhere around the world. The premillennialist sees the same thing and comes to the same conclusion. The shadow of Antichrist does indeed live in every generation. The one separating issue, in my opinion, remember, I'm still in a state of pondering, is that the amillennialist says this is the way it is. And the premillennialist says, I know, but this is also a shadow or a precursor of the way it will be when the Antichrist and the false prophet show up. If the premillennialist view is correct, and there's an individual personal Antichrist, then the amillennialist will recognize him or her because they've trained themselves in holiness and righteousness, and they know evil when they see it. If the amillennial view is correct, the premillennialist who is trained in holiness and righteousness through their pursuit of God will not be misled by the spirit of the age, i.e. the Antichrist in whatever age they're living in. Lastly, if the premillennialist is correct and the church does get raptured, do you honestly think the amillennialist will fuss about that? Nah. Here's my bottom line. I have been declared guilty of being ambiguous in my eschatology. I think there's truth in that assessment. My sin of ambiguity is founded in the fact that I can honestly see and understand both sides of this amillennial, premillennial discussion. But here is my problem. If you base the way you live on your eschatology, you've missed the whole point of being a Christian. Am I saying eschatology, the study of end times, is not important? Of course not. I am most certainly saying that if you spin your wheels focusing solely on what is going to happen, you will not be focusing on what is happening. God told Moses that his name was I Am. God is the God of the present, the God of now. Yes, eschatology is important, as is all doctrine. Yes, we are called to be students of the Word, part of which is the study of end times, because the Word speaks of it. The proof of our salvation lies not in when we believe Jesus will return, or when the rapture of the church will take place, or if Nero is the Antichrist or was the Antichrist. The proof of our salvation is found in how we live as a member of God's family now. The I Am demands obedience in the now. Here is my sense of what God desires most of us. I find this in the Epistle of James. In chapter 1, starting verse 22, he says, "Don't merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror, and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they've heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Religion that God, our Father, accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. And again, in chapter 2, he says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm, be well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it's not accomplished by action, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. He says, show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there is one God? Good, good. Even the demons believe that, and they shudder. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. You see, a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. What is James saying? James is decrying the thought that intellectual assent alone defines a true Christ follower. In these passages, he is describing someone who talks one way but lives another. The proof of our Christianity is found in what we do and think, not just by what we think. If what you think does not lead you to walk as Christ walked, then you are sorely deceived. For this reason, I am, as of this moment, not planting my flag firmly on one side or the other on the amillennial, pre-millennial debate. Does that mean I do not consider the elements of each? Nope. I'm still studying. I'm still in a state of pondering. And as I proceed through Revelation, I will be faced again and again with eschatological ponderings, and I will ponder. But I will not let my study of what may happen or what has happened overwhelm how I live now. I firmly believe that one of the greatest deceptions of the enemy is to do anything to keep us from living for Christ now. Eschatology has an important place in our thinking, but it isn't what should be driving the bus. No matter what your eschatological stance is, we must see Revelation for what it is, a call to the church to persevere. John is reminding us that persecution and struggle are part of the package we have signed on for, and we win. Don't get so caught up in the eschatological, that's a big word. Don't get so caught up with the eschatological thoughts that you lose sight of the message. If you walk with God, you will be persecuted. The world will judge you unfairly. If you walk with God, you win. Good place to stop. I'm Paige. Here's my coffee. And folks, I'm out of here. Have a glorious day. Bye-bye. Don't forget to join me at www.patreon.com/coffeebiblepage or my website, www.coffeebiblepage.com. Have a glorious and blessed day. Bye-bye.